Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Talo falava malo lelei pulo vinaka and aloha is your usosefa, is your toko atu. Welcome back to the Sayless podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest with us here tonight. It's our second female guest. We're so happy. We're getting more females on our podcast, man. We're so happy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Olympian herself, Megan Signal. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause. Let's go. Welcome, sis.
Let's go. Welcome
to the Sayless podcast. Man, it's an honor. It's an honor to have you on board on this podcast. How's it been? How's things?
Yeah, things are good, thank you. Things are real good. I'm here in Auckland off the back of a pretty long lockdown and just making the most, and borders are open, our business is open. Things are tracking good. No complaints.
Man, I was telling you before, like I'm still like with that whole red light, green light thing. I moved away from Auckland last year when it was just level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now everyone's like red light, green light. What the heck is this? What is a Squid Game going on?
Squid Games over here, mate.
No, but again, welcome, sisters. Oh man, can't wait to hear your story. I can't wait to dig in, but yeah, let's move straight into it, Ducks.
Yeah, man, let's get into it. Like everyone knows, Megan's, what she's doing now is really awesome, and we want to get to know how you got there and how everything began for you. So, if you could touch on how your journey was as a young child and growing up, and what got you motivated and to be doing a lot of weightlifting these days.
Yeah, I grew up in Matamata, so that's in a small country town in the Waikato. I actually grew up that's the one.
Oh, sad. Not the Hobbit.
Sorry.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Were you in the Lord of the Rings?
It's funny you say that, because when I was in primary school, that's when they filmed the first one, and everyone was like signing up for extras, and I should have, but I could have had my
man.
I think my brother was on the extras too. You were on the extra.
Yeah, I was on there, but you could have seen Megan going like this at the back. That's cool.
Yes, I grew up down there on a just like a 24-acre farm. I went to Matamata College. We worked on the farm pretty hard most of that time. So sport really, it wasn't really a thing for me. Back then I played a little bit of netball when I could get into town. And I lived a good life there until I left high school, and I studied in Hamilton. I studied fashion. So I did a fashion diploma, and then I got a job straight out of there. So I moved up to Auckland to work in the fashion industry, which was pretty cool also. So a lot happened within that time. That's a short story of it. But then I started weightlifting. Actually, I joined the corporate gym at our office, and the trainers there, I made friends with them, and they started to teach me bits and pieces from like the CrossFit methodology. And then I learned weightlifting through that. So that kind of sparked everything. And
that's awesome. I obviously you've mentioned that you're at the farm and whatnot. And when I think about farm, it's all about like animals and hay lifting, all of that. Like did any of that have a kind of influence in it? Like surely like lifting stuff at the farm was like, surely I can squat like 20 or clean 20.
No, I mean, we did a lot of that. That. I don't know. Maybe it did have some crossover. Actually, you're the first person who's even thought of that. But maybe it did have crossover. But like I look back and I'm like, my mum is half my size. She's teeny tiny. She's Filipino. And she used to carry like 20, 30 kilo buckets of milk and like each bucket in each hand, like all the way from the back of the farm to the. So I feel like I get all my strength from her, because she's a strong woman. So I don't know if I directly got it from what I did on the farm, but I definitely got something from her. Yeah,
that's me, man. And shout out to mum for that. Far out. Another question that also comes in mind was obviously being a farm girl, did you always find yourself like separated from like, I'd say the city kids or town kids, I guess? And if so, how was that? Like, how did you cope with it? Or how did you kind of merge yourself into like kind of be in the crowd together with everybody else? Obviously coming to Auckland.
Yeah, it was definitely a big step because like Matamata is pretty small. And then to make it even smaller, we were like tucked away in Te Pui, which is about 15 minutes away. And I went to make it even smaller, I went to a Catholic school which only had 40 students when I was there. So, and that went from primary all the way through to high school. So even going from a farm and a school of 40 students and only 2 of us moved on from that school to high school, we knew no one. That was a big step as well. And then going from Matamata to Hamilton to Auckland. It's funny, I actually think I didn't study in Auckland because I was a little bit scared. Hamilton was a nice little stepping stone, you know, it's not that scary. It's kind of close to home. So yeah, it was definitely some big adjustments there. Yeah.
Awesome. How was Matamata College? Was that like, I guess, I mean, like, is it small compared to like the college, like the high schools and
nah, she's low-key the biggest thing that come out of Matamata, man. Let's go. Let's go. Bro, she's one of those ones that's got her picture hung on the assembly like the hall. When you walk in, it's like, oh wow,
not just a picture, bro. There's a gym named after her.
Dedicate this gym to Megan Signal.
How
was that though?
I don't even know if my teachers know what I'm up to
Right. Your teachers got your picture on their walls right now. Oh, she was a great student. She wasn't even in your class.
Yeah, how was that?
How
was your high school days?
My high school days. Well, I mean, I can only speak from my experience. It's a good school. It's the only high school in Matamata. So, I mean, my high school days were. I had a pretty. I think because I came from the farm, my parents were pretty strict. And if I'm being completely honest, when I got to high school, I got pretty rebellious. Pretty early on.
You're not the only one, trust me.
Pretty early on.
That's this whole podcast episode right now. We were all rebellious.
Yeah, we're gonna be real here, right?
That's us.
So like at 13, you know, like I was sneaking out of home pretty early on and doing things just to kind of fit in with groups and you know exactly what you do when you're in high school. So I feel like when I look back at our school, I feel like there was sort of like two parts to it. There was like the kids who were like really good at academics and sport, and then me and my friends who were like just getting through school, pretty social. I mean, if we're going to be real, we sat on the tennis courts and smoked weed, to be honest. Like it was just like, I didn't move in that direction at all in high school. So by the time I left, I had no sporting background, no, I studied because I didn't know what else to do when I left high school, and my mum really wanted us to get an education. So for her, I just threw myself into fashion because that was the only thing I was kind of good at high school. So that was sort of my experience. It was a great time. It was a great time. I made great friends.
No regrets.
No regrets. Go hard or go home.
Like it was good. I mean, it had its ups and downs, but I didn't particularly like school. I wasn't really good at learning.
That's all good. Because I know that my bro over here, you're like doing it at 10 years old, bro? Like
we'll say 8. I'll say 8. I'm pushing my luck. You know what? I blame it on Kelston, because when we do trick or treat, they didn't give out lollies, they give out corned beef and stuff. And like yeah, what the heck, man? And then I was like, this is the life. This is the life.
100%, bro, 100%. But also, like you spoke on fashion, Megan. Was that your drive? Was that like what you set for yourself? That sweet. That's my career. Like that's my, I guess, my life after everything here. Like, did you any like kind of sporting background ever like just, jump at you, I guess?
Not really. Like I knew I had to do something.
Yeah.
And I knew at that age I was the type of person who, if I took a gap year, that gap year would have turned into 10 years. Like but I mean, from the farm, I had work ethic. So I just knew I had to do something and I just stick at it. So fashion was the thing that I was good at in high school, was the only, because I'm a practical learner. So I enjoyed like designing and sewing and creating. And the only sport I could say that I kind of like sunk my teeth into a little bit was I did kickboxing in Pataru, which is like 25 minutes from where we are. And my friend and I went over once a week and we went through gradings and stuff. That was sort of like the only experience of like sport and exercise that I had. And I actually really liked it. And I think, like, when I look back, I'm like, martial arts is kind of similar to weightlifting in the way you have to learn how to use your body. It's skill-based. There's obviously strength and fitness involved, but yes, I really like that. But I did that for about 9 months or so, and that was literally it. And yeah, I just threw myself into fashion.
Man, that's awesome. How deep did you go in fashion? Like, did you have your own line? Did you have your own, like, did you start your own label and stuff like that?
No, I didn't. I went the corporate route, so I had a pretty cool run there, to be honest. I did work experience at a company called Pumpkin Patch. You guys probably wore it.
I was
a little like I didn't.
I was born in Samoa.
Bodies, we couldn't fit those.
I literally wore a pumpkin in Samoa. Shout out to Pumpkin Patch.
Man, sponsor us. Please, man, please.
Yo.
So I worked with them. Like I just started in production and just kind of worked my way up. So when I left, I was a buyer, a designer and buyer for the girlswear range, which is pretty cool. Like, it was a really cool place to reach. And so I was sort of in fashion, and I got to try a bit, went to LA and the UK and that for like buying trips and stuff, which was all pretty wild for me. And then, I got to a point where that was after I think I started doing sport, where I was just like, I don't really know if this industry is for me anymore. So I left the fashion industry and I moved to the fitness industry.
Man, you see the fashion industry now, like, who's your biggest, like, man, yo, that style is dope?
I don't even follow it all that much, to be honest. Like, I actually think I look more to like local.
Nice.
Just like, I don't know. Like, I had all my favorite designers back then, but I'm trying to think of, there's nothing really specific that I wear now or that I watch. I just like seeing what local people are doing. I think that's what we need to do anyway, right? Like,
that's the one.
Local, way more.
Shout out to all our local designers out there. And we say this often on this podcast. If you have friends that are starting their own line and stuff, don't ask for discounts. Support them. Pay the full price. Don't go, mates rates. Don't let mates rates out of here. Support your friends. Support your friends that are starting their business. And then we transition, Megan, we transition in from fashion. You start going into, you said you did a little bit of CrossFit. You know, you look at us, me and the toko here, you're thinking like, wow, personal trainers, bodybuilders. What was that transition, into the whole CrossFit arena, going into your weightlifting career?
So I started in CrossFit, just kind of like mucking around with it. And then my partner at the time, he was really into it and he was like quite competitive. So through him, I got into the competitive side pretty quickly. I started competing and I started CrossFit in 2012, I think, or 2013. I started competing in 2014, just like locally. And then by 2015, we were going to the CrossFit Games. So actually that progressed quite quickly in those couple of years. So I really threw myself into that. And then, yes, I was competitive in that for a while, and that just sort of became my life. Like I was pretty obsessive around that, to be honest. And CrossFit, you train heaps. There's so much to train. You just train so much, and that took over. But weightlifting had kind of been sprinkled in, like you can kind of do both. But if you want to keep going in weightlifting, you can't be running and swimming and doing everything else. Like it's quite, you have to be sport specific if you want to get past that national level. So after competing in CrossFit till 2018 or competing in both, I should say, I decided, like, coming into Commonwealth Games and Olympic sort of qualification times, and you know, people, Weightlifting New Zealand was sort of sowing the seed for me, or like planting the seed. We're like, you could go for these. And that was just wild. Like, I started exercise 4 years ago. So we're like talking about the international competitions. It just blew my mind. So that's when I thought, well, actually I should probably start doing something more sport specific. And then eventually crossed over.
Man, it just goes to show, like, you know, the things that you're talking about with fashion and CrossFit and, you know, now weightlifting, it seems like you're a very passionate person that, you know, when it comes to something that you wanted to do, it's like, yo, I'm going to do this and I want to do it to the best of my abilities. And when I feel like I don't want to do it anymore, if my time is finished there, I'm going to start something. And that's awesome. Like, not many people can do that. Like, not many people can succeed in such an area and then move on. Like, you competed in CrossFit Games in 2015, like, and you've only been in CrossFit for a while. That's like, oh gosh. What was your favorite workout in CrossFit?
It was definitely what's it called? Oh man, this is embarrassing.
She's trying to tumble one. Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Just say
Snatch.
Or just say Snatch.
Anything with the barbell. Anything with the barbell. I honestly, there was still quite a few, but they were all barbell related. So that was my jam, even in CrossFit. Loved a barbell workout.
I've got a quick question before Sefa moves on. You started, like you mentioned, you started mucking around, and then you started obviously training and then getting serious. I know I can probably speak for myself or a majority of females. There's one thing that stops them to going to the gym, and it's obviously the cardio or the weightlifting or whatever, but also like confidence. Did you ever, in your time when you were training before, like, did you ever feel like you were like shy to lift a bar because you were, I guess, shy that it was the wrong technique, or you know, or like you were doing it wrong or whatever? And if so, like, what's your advice for those people that are like that are wanting to lose weight or train or going to lift or whatever in the gym, but they're like, I'm too scared because there's a lot of people in there. There's a lot of people already, you know, like trainers and whatnot. Like, they're scared just to go in there, and like their confidence is so low. So, what's your kind of advice for those people?
Yeah.
You felt like that too.
Environment is everything, and you know what? I was so blessed because the environment of the gym that I just happened to step foot into was epic. Like it really was, and I'd been into one other gym prior to that, and I instantly was like, I felt really out of place and really uncomfortable. And I kind of felt like that in any scenario. I felt like that when I moved into the fashion industry, like a lot. I felt really uncomfortable, and that's part of why I left it. You know, like you have to surround yourself with people who are going to uplift you no matter what level you're at, no matter what you look like, how you move the bar, whether you're experienced or not, and that's huge. And you should want to be around like people who are, you know, I help run a gym, and our team, we would never want anyone to walk in and feel like they don't belong there. And so I feel like as gym owners and as coaches, it's your responsibility to make that, you know, to make that space welcoming for people, because that's what we need more of in this world. We actually need people to be fitter and healthier. So my first advice would be to find a place where you feel comfortable and where you walk in the door and someone like smiles and welcomes you, because that's the biggest, like the second you walk in, if someone looks you up and down, I'll be out of there. Like, you know, if the person behind the reception desk looks you up or down or makes you feel uncomfortable anyway, I'd try another gym because there's heaps. And then the other thing I'd probably say is like when you're learning, it's like, just remember that everybody starts somewhere, you know, everybody starts somewhere. So there's always the person in the gym who looks like or the people in the gym who look like they've got everything down. But they all walked into the gym or a gym or, you know, whatever they started with, not knowing a thing. So you have to work through that, and it's all part of it. So yeah, don't let it dishearten you, for sure.
Awesome advice. What gym do you work at, sis? Like, what gym do you guys run?
So we run, it's called Renegade Fitness, but it was previously CrossFit East Tamaki. And the reason why we changed to Renegade Fitness is because we run CrossFit classes and a bunch of other classes as well. And yeah, we're just more than just CrossFit now, so it's pretty cool. We've just opened a new location in the city, so on South Street, just off Cave Road, literally like 2 weeks ago.
Off Cave Road.
Off Cave Road.
Yeah, off Cave Road.
Perfect.
When you do your night out, guys.
Guys, there we go. Shout out to the team from Renegade Fitness. If you go out, if you wanted to lose all the alcohol that you just sweated out, straight to the gym after that, guys. Straight to the gym. No hassle. If you get stopped,
wait outside.
If you get stopped, go home. Come back in. Nah, that's awesome. Well, shout out to you guys. Did you guys take a big hit during the pandemic? Like during the lockdown?
Yeah, it was really hard, but we've got a really good team, and that first one, it was nuts. We hustled. Hustled. We were doing one-on-one programs for every single member at our gym. Calls, check-ins, just to give them, you know, like the whole thing is you need to give them value in order to exchange for money. And we unlike other gyms, we don't have any contracts. So you know, anybody turn around and said, I can't afford to pay my membership, or I don't want to pay my membership, that's fine. We can't stop them. But so for us, it was just give them value, and you know, and people need it too. They need that help through lockdowns. Like, it's hard for all of us. So we hustled in that first one, probably burnt ourselves out, but it was worth it because we opened our doors again at the end and we still had members. And so we learned heaps from that. Second one, third one, fourth one, we just did the same thing. But our systems got better. So we weren't scrambling. We had systems in place. So lockdown, you take these members, you take these members, you take these members, and we'll make sure that they're sorted out. So we did suffer because we had to work crazy, and we did suffer a bit, but not as much as we probably would have if we just you know, took a step back and let it happen.
That's awesome. We go back to the weightlifting, you know, because Olympic Games, like weightlifting, like there's not that much of a spotlight, you know what I mean? Not like rugby, or you know, where it's just Saturday games every weekend, most weekends of the year, where weightlifting is mostly like people mostly see it in the Olympics. They mostly see it in South Pacific Games and Commonwealth. You know, having that is that like that preparation, is the goal always to be like, okay, because you guys have competitions leading towards the Olympics, or the Commonwealth. Like, how's that preparation for you guys? And is the group quite close, like the weightlifting group quite close for you guys?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, leading into comps, so we generally for all like pinnacle events like World Champs, Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, South Pacific Games, leading into them, there's qualifiers, and they're either national or international. And so when you're going through those qualifiers, it's pretty cool because you're competing at competitions where everyone's there. So like North Island Champs, for example, or national champs, like everyone's there. There's heaps of competitors. All the clubs come together. So you're training with your club members leading into those qualifiers. And so that's a vibe. That's really cool. And then when you move on from there and you move into international, so like if you qualify and you go to Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, or Pacific Games, it's a smaller group of international athletes, and so like it's maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of you out of your club, and then all the other clubs. So when you travel internationally, you get quite tight with the people you travel with, because it's generally a small group. And then when you compete nationally, it's like you've got all your training buddies there from all levels, and that's cool too. I actually forgot what your initial question was.
No, that was the initial answer. That was the initial answer right there.
That's sort of that's the feel of weightlifting competitions. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's go.
That's mean, man. Honest. Obviously you've spoken on South Pacific Games, representing your country. When you got that first call to, represent your country, what was that feeling like? And I guess there's I would say some tough, mental toughness that comes into it, because with weightlifting, you're on your own, like you're the only one lifting it, where, rugby league, netball, it's a team sport, So what's that kind of like, having the feeling of, yes, I can represent my country, but then also in the back of your head, like, it's only me by myself, like, shucks. Like, what's that pressure like? What's the mentality behind it? And if you've ever, struggled with it, how did you cope with it?
Yeah, well, to answer your first question, like representing New Zealand.
Sorry, sis, I just put like 3 in one.
We've got about 20 minutes before I swear my brain just like switches off.
Yo, sweet.
I'm trying really hard to keep up. No, it's all good. It's all good.
We should put subtitles down here, bro.
Yeah, but nah.
Just a reminder.
I finished my question, then I was like, fuck, I just put like 3 questions in there.
Even I was like, that's 5. It's 5 and 1. Let's go.
You know what? I was just asking the first question. How was it representing New Zealand and weightlifting?
It was good. No, it was good. It was good. It was pretty like for me, like just going back to how I came into it, like it was wild. If you had told me at high school that I'd be pulling on a New Zealand suit, I just would have laughed. Like there was just no there was no at that point there was no vision of representing my country. And then so when I got to that point, I had to kind of like pinch myself and look back and be like, how did I get here? This is pretty amazing. And obviously it's a proud moment for our family. We're a small family, and so that it was super special. What was the second question?
My second question? Sorry. And my second question is obviously, being the only one, competing, not like, like rugby and netball and whatnot, it's a team sport, but you representing your country by yourself, lifting those weights. Do you ever feel pressure, or like if you do, or like how do you cope with it?
It's actually what I love about this sport. Like it teaches you. I mean, every athlete must feel this, but like it teaches you heaps, because you're right. As soon as you leave your coach, like my coach gives me the double tap on the shoulder and I'm out on the platform, and I'm on my own. And in those moments, like you have to be all in, like you have to be in your own corner.
100%.
And if you're not, like there's not much room for error in that 3-second lift. So you have to be all in your corner, and you're dead right. There's been heaps of times where I haven't been in my corner fully, and I've missed lifts, and I've even had a competition where I missed all of my snatches. So you don't total, it's a DNF, and that's a pretty crappy feeling, and most lifters will experience that at some point in their career. But it teaches you a lot, because once that happens once, you just kind of go back and be like, well, what do I need to do? Like where do I grow more self-belief, and how do I pull it into those moments? But it's also, I think it's also like, it's really make or break. Like if you want to be a good weightlifter, you have to know how to back yourself and know how to like dial in exactly the right moment. And that's such a cool thing about the sport. And I'm still learning how to perfect that, but I feel like during this last 3 years of Olympic qualifiers, I've I've learned heaps. But also, like, it is an individual sport, and I will say that your training environment is something you take with you onto the platform. Like, you take all of your teammates as an individual sport, but we train in a small club, like a small space in Papatoe. I was just there tonight for the first time since before I left for Japan, and there was like close to 30 people in such a small space, and the vibe is just epic, and like everyone's supporting each other. There's no negative vibes in there whatsoever, and you carry all of that into competition. So I think that's important too. Yeah,
that's awesome. In weightlifting, do you have certain like just certain, I don't know, what do you call it, exercises that you're specifically like assigned to do? Like, let's say for yourself, like, do you just snatch, or do you clean, or do you do a lot?
Yeah, so we do both. So we do snatch and clean and jerk. So you get 3 attempts to reach your heaviest snatch, and then 3 attempts to reach your heaviest clean and jerk. So every athlete goes through the snatches, and then every athlete goes through the clean and jerks, and then they take your top snatch, your top clean and jerk, and add it together, and that's your total. So that's how they create their ranking.
Sure.
So if you miss all your snatches,
you're
out of the competition.
What are you lifting now?
Yeah, hard. Don't be humble.
Oh, no, I'm going to be humble. I'm 12 weeks post-surgery, so I'm lifting nothing.
You have to tell us so we can pick up our game, because right now we're lifting like KFC boxes and whatnot right now. So the motivation.
Not me.
Yeah,
what's your heaviest?
So my heaviest snatch is 100 kilos. And heaviest clean and jerk is 123. Yeah, so got a bit of working
got a bit of work to do on our side.
All right, you're like 20 steps ahead of us, so you're all good.
Me and Sus, man, good work, Father. Those are heavy. Those are really heavy. I just want to touch on South Pacific Games also, or any CrossFit Games, and when you go up against your people, what is that feeling like? Or are you just in that zone where like, it's just me, myself, and I? Or are you also proud of them and want them to do well as well?
What's up, everyone? We always love to promote our local business. And today we have Westside Cut Shack, redefining the meaning of home cuts. What started as a hobby in the garage has now become a passion. To inspiring barbers based out in West Auckland, we give fast, clean cuts at customer-friendly prices. So if you want to fix up that lineup that your little brother did for you, that it's not working out, hey, hit up the brothers and they'll sort you out. What sort of haircuts do you always go for, Dogo?
Mid fade, mate.
Mid
razor, mate.
They'll sort you out. Shout out to the brothers Ofatu. Let's go.
Yeah, good question. I honestly, this is just me personally. Like I've always been competitive with myself, and you use other people to push you. So I don't ever feel like I never want anyone else to do that. I hate seeing people like bomb and that, but sometimes that's in favor of your placing. Yeah. But like at the end of the day, it's when I'm competing in weightlifting, I have no idea what anyone else is doing. There's only been one time where I've been aware of what someone else is doing, and that's because we're going sort of head to head for the Olympic spot. And she was an Australian, and her and I are actually friends, and she's a real cool chick. And it's the coaches who decide what you're putting on the bar. So her coach was trying to throw me. He kept changing the numbers. So I thought I was going out, but then I wasn't. And I thought I was going out, and then I wasn't. And all he was trying to do was mess with me so that, I would get all flustered and miss a lift, because that's sort of what needed to happen for her to come over top. And it's the only time that I've been aware of actually what's going on or who I'm competing against, because they were purposely trying to mess with me. And so in that moment, I was just laughing, because I was like, I'm so dialed into what I'm doing. It doesn't matter what you do. Whenever they call my name, I'll go out, or, But that's the only time I've been aware. Otherwise, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just out there just trying to make sure that I make my lift. CrossFit's a little bit different, because you're literally racing someone.
Yeah,
so them down.
I've always lost that one. All right, man. I give up.
You go.
Yeah. I quit, man.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's mean. There's also obviously the Olympic team and Polynesian girls, or any girl, competing before you, or currently, or not even at the Olympics, maybe any other CrossFit games and whatnot. Has there anyone apart from your coach or your family that's inspired you to continue to go? Because I'm not too sure, but like, has there been times where like you've kind of felt like giving it up? And if so, like, has there been anyone that's inspired you to be like, yeah, keep going, or motivated you to keep going?
Heaps.
Yeah.
And you don't have to look very far. It's generally someone you train with, or someone really well.
Yeah.
I don't even think I have to look outside of New Zealand, but I will say, like, the first person who comes to mind when you say that is the only time I really thought maybe I am done was because I've had a lot of injuries that have kind of knocked me. And someone like a good friend of mine, Alethea Boone, I don't know if you know who she is, but she was a Commonwealth gymnast, and then she was an epic like CrossFit Games athlete, and then also went to the Commonwealth Games and weightlifting. She's a phenomenal athlete and epic person. And she also has overcome a lot of injuries. So, there are people like that who are within reach, or generally people who you can kind of look at their journey and be like, well, you know what? Stop feeling sorry for yourself, because you're not the only one who's been through this. Just figure it out for yourself and kind of keep pushing on through. So yeah, I think that's pretty awesome. But all the girls that I train with at the club, and they all inspire you in different ways, just with their attitudes and the way they approach things. So you learn heaps from everyone around you. Yeah, for sure.
Man, that's awesome. And, just making the Olympics team is such a massive thing, because not everyone will say they went to the Olympics. Some people might say they went to watch the Olympics, but to compete in the Olympics is a whole different story. So we do want to congratulate you in that awesome success. That's awesome. You get to add that to your resume, and your school gets to add more pictures on the assembly hall for that. The one thing we love to touch on with our guests is mental health, and I love this because every answer is different. Every athlete, every person, not just athlete, every person goes through mental health differently, whether they're strong mentally, whether they're not really strong mentally, and for you, we saw that hours before your debut on Olympics, you suffered a shoulder injury that prevented you from going on, and that would have been, I don't know. Like, can you talk us through that? Because I don't want to add any more. I just want to hear this part. How did you cope with that?
Yeah, I think it's a great topic, because it's something that's really close to me, and it's something I've been pretty outspoken about even before the Olympics, and even before sport. And I think so. I did have to withdraw on the day of my competition. The injury had happened pretty close to that day, and we were trying desperately to get back. And I would say my mental health was the best it's been like going into the Olympics. I was truly like, my coach is pretty epic. I have a really good mind state coach. Like, I have great support, and just the team that I had, they made sure I was okay. So with all the pressure going into the Olympics, I was definitely okay. And then the days, literal days leading into the Olympics, being injured, and then eventually having to pull out, and no one really saw that other than my small team who were around me. But my mental health spiraled very, very quickly. And I would say all credit to my team, like my physio, my coach, my peers I train with, who were all there through it all. They didn't just all come on board to make sure that I was okay in the moment. They've been doing that for the last however many years. So along the way, there are lots of little setbacks, and everyone was on board and all uplifting. And I think when it comes to like the mental health of an athlete in particular, since we are talking about sport, it can't be, oh, we're going to be there to help them when things go wrong and help pick up the pieces. It has to be educate them on how they can look after their own mental health from the beginning, so that if things do happen and they, you know, they are, or they don't end up in pieces on the, you know, like that has to be how it is, because I felt like that's how it was for me. So like I was in a real dark place, but I was okay because we'd banked all this time of like talking about it. And, you know, if this happens, if you don't make the Olympics, if you get injured, if, you know, like little things were happening, and we're like, what are your tools? What do you do? Who do you call on? How do you show up for yourself and make sure you're okay? And then when something like this happens, which was like, no one saw this coming. I was in a very dark place, but I knew how to pull myself out. So I think that's a pretty long-winded way of answering that question, but
that's perfect. That's awesome.
Hopefully that makes sense.
That's all good.
We shouldn't be in pieces, is what I was trying to say. You know, like we're doing epic things, and we've got to do the work in the beginning, so that you don't get to a point where you
sure. That's awesome. And again, thank you for sharing that, like, because I know, you know, for a lot of people, you know, it's hard to be vulnerable when it comes to their mental health side. So we do want to honor you for sharing that. How important is it to have a strong group of friends or circle that you could trust with your line of work in your career?
Oh, it's so important, eh? So important. It's so important. And I don't think you don't need many. You just need even one person or two people who are just like fully get you and will just, you know, be there no matter what state you're in. And I feel like in elite sport, we've got access to sports psychologists, we've got access to whatever we need. It's the people who, it's your family, it's your close friends, it's the ones who like knew you pre-sport, who honor you during sport, who honor you when you're down. Like, it's those people that you need in your corner. It's so important, because there are times where you just feel like no one understands. And so if you had that one person who can just be like, it's all good, I understand, you know, I get you, then that's sometimes that's all you need. So it is really important. It can be a lonely time sometimes. So I think for everyone that's important. Hey.
Yeah, that's the one that I do agree with that. Like, you don't have to tell everyone. Like, you don't have to go post on Facebook or on your Instagram story, hey guys, I'm mentally not there. Like, find your group of friends, find your circle that you trust, that you know that would have your back through the wins and the losses. And I do encourage you, you know, every viewer that's watching, if you're struggling mentally, there's a lot of people that you could go to, but find your close circle. What's one thing that you wish you had learned in high school that you reckon would have helped you and where you are now? Or what would you like to see being taught in high school?
Nice.
Right now.
2 questions.
That's 2 questions. I don't want to make it 3.
Let me see if I can remember
choose one. Choose one.
One thing I wish I knew. Do you know, it's actually really hard to. I did a podcast a couple of nights ago, and a similar question was asked. It's really hard to say that there's something I wish I knew in high school, because I think because I didn't. There was so much I didn't know in high school. Like I fell over a lot, and I had to learn how to pick myself up, or I had to learn how to like move forward. And it's because of that I feel like I ended up where I am here. So it's actually hard to say that, but I do wish that I don't know, in some way I had more self-belief, because I think in high school that was the core of it. I didn't actually think I was capable of much at all. And who knows, you know, like I might have started something earlier. I started weightlifting quite late, but I might have started earlier. And yeah, so I think the self-belief piece is massive. And what do I wish they taught in high school? Longer PE times,
Longer lunch times. Let's go.
I ditched all my PE classes. Yeah, longer lunch times.
You know what? I know why you fell over. It's because you're running away from your teacher, skipping class. That's why you fell over.
Yeah, slow. I was running away slow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think also like communication is really important. Like how to communicate and going back to the mental health piece. Like in high school, if I knew how to communicate better, I probably would have been in a better place. I went to some like crazy dark places, and my friends did too. But I feel like if you learn how to communicate, you're a bit more open to it, then some pretty great things can happen there too.
Let's go.
How's the shoulder?
It's a good thing. Yeah, it's recovering. It's it's at the moment I'm in the last week of just trying to get it up overhead. So it's all about just trying to get range back. And then next week I get to start strengthening it.
Nice.
Yo.
What'd you do? AC? No?
So I dislocated it posteriorly. So I pushed the joint out the back, which is apparently pretty rare. And in that process, I already had a torn labrum, which I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And then when I dislocated it a couple of days before competition, I ruptured my rotator cuff.
Yeah.
And just did some damage to my bicep tendon, so they had to like cut and reattach that. So yeah, it was a decent it was a decent injury, a few things to repair when I went in there, but it's all fixed now, so it'll come back to 100 for sure.
I've just got one more question, or a few more questions before we get into the quickfire, but I'm just going to touch on something that I kind of went through personally, and I know that obviously that you're going through it with your injury and what. When I went through my injury, I was the only one in the rehab or in the gym. So I struggled mentally to kind of be motivated to go to my rehab classes or sessions and whatnot. How's it going with you, and like what's helping you like going through rehab, like watching everybody like lift and stuff, and you're just like, oh shucks, like, you know, like, because sometimes it gets tough, because for me, like I was watching you run training, I'm like, far out, and I'm in here trying to learn how to stand on my ankle, you know what I mean? Like it was so difficult. So like how is that kind of journey of your rehab at the moment?
At the moment, honestly, it's pretty good. Like I know, and it's only pretty good because I've been through 2 other surgeries before, and I think you learn something every time.
Yeah, 100%.
So you learn that it doesn't matter how much you want it to speed up, you're going to heal at your own pace, and you could have someone going through exactly the same injury next to you, and they could be going slower or faster. So I think from learning that from experience, like having lived it, I know that I can't, you know, and also looking at other people and getting down about it, that slows your injury down, because like, you know, when you're down about it, cortisol's high, inflammation in the body and all that kind of thing, like it does slow your rehab down. So I think knowing that you have to run your own race, and you have to do the little things, and you definitely have moments where I'm looking around and I like, oh, my heart's heavy. I'm like, oh, I just feel like I'm lifting a barbell, man. But then you just turn around, you just do your repetitions of isometric work or stretches or whatever it is that you got to do, and you do that day, and then you do it the next day, and you just take each day as it comes. So yeah, it is rough, but that for me, it's take each day as it comes. It has to, otherwise, you never get back.
Yeah, you're so right on that, sis. Because I had like a 9-month rehab, and it took me like nearly a year, and that was because no one told me, you know, like no one told me, you know, like no one told me the fact that like you just gotta do it, you know, and like give me advice and encourage me. But like I had no one to say that to me, and that's why my question kind of generated from, because I know there'll be some young generations or young teenagers out there that are probably going through some major injuries, right? And at a young age. And I feel like if they're in the mindset, or I wanted you to kind of share like what's your advice for them, and for you to share that, like I feel like that's an awesome advice to kind of tell those teenagers to kind of just believe in and trust the process, believe in themselves and trust the process. So thanks for sharing that. What's next for you? What's next for Megan Signal?
So I've got to get the shoulder back to as best as possible. And I have a Commonwealth Games qualifier in
Let's go.
2 months' time.
Go.
Ooh.
So
Yeah.
we're on the countdown. We're going to try and make a big comeback for the end of February, and that's my only opportunity to qualify for Com Games, which is July next year. And I'm very aware that the shoulder might be ready, it might not, but I'm going to give it a crack anyway. And then post that, it'll be there's Commonwealth Games, there's more world champs, with more things to come. Paris Olympic qualifiers start this next year, so it's we just keep rolling.
Nice. I think I've got one more question to fire at you before we get into our quick fire questions. Advice for let's say an 18-year-old Megan Signal. What's your advice for her?
Just don't put limitations on yourself. Stop putting limitations on yourself. That's literally it.
Mean advice.
That's the one.
That's for me too.
Yeah. Stop putting limitation on yourself. That's the one.
That's the one, sir.
Mean. All right, we're gonna get into our quick fire questions. It's one of our favorite parts of this of every episode. We ask you 5 of our quick fire questions, and you have to answer them honestly, truthfully, and honesty. Hand on Bible. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. We usually ask our last question. It's the same question that we've asked every guest. So looking forward to hearing your answer on that last one. Okay, the first one, your first question is, you get to spend a day in someone else's shoes. Who would it be and why? It could be like your mom or anyone, a celebrity, and you're like, oh my gosh, these are pretty cool shoes. I'd love to spend my day on their shoes.
You know, the first person who came to him was actually Lisa Carrington, because she's like one of my biggest idols.
She's a beast.
Let's go.
And I love the way she trains, and I would just love to just like pick apart her her mind when she's training.
Did you get to like hang around with them at any point, or?
They weren't staying in the village, so I actually didn't get to see her in particular, but hopefully soon at some point.
Yo,
Lisa Carrington.
Let's go. She's coming for you. Anyway, if you would you change your name into something else, what would it be? Like if you're like, you know what? I want to be this person today. I want to change my name. What would it be?
So just like literally my name?
Like literally your name.
Anything.
Oh.
Literally.
I love my name though. I like my name. Oh, that's a hard question.
Oh, did you say Lisa Carrington as well? Oh, you're all good. Lisa Carrington, she's literally
no, she's gonna think I'm like weird obsessed.
Even your name. Ladies and gentlemen, exclusive. Megan is obsessed with Lisa Carrington. No, and we're not going to edit this one out. No.
We'll keep
this staying in here.
Oh, man.
Your third one. If you would live anywhere, where would it be? Apart from New Zealand, obviously. If there was anywhere else you would love to live, where would it be?
Japan, for sure.
Ooh, Japan.
Oh, I love it there.
Japan. What's your favorite thing about Japan?
The food and the people is pretty it's pretty neck and neck, to be honest. Like the food is just it's insane. It's incredible. The seafood is unreal, and the people are just like the nicest people. So I'd live there in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Do you have a free spot for us? Jump on when you go and compete.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
You know when you go to Paris, can we come with you? For the Olympics?
Sure, I'll give you guys the call up.
Oh, yo, sweet. You know what? You know who you should ask? Lisa Carrington.
Oh, see, I'll ask Lisa Carrington then.
We got two more. Your fourth one. Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve? You're like, your biggest pet peeve.
It's gonna sound real bad, but like if someone says they're gonna do something and then they don't.
That's the worst, man. Honestly,
that's this guy over here. That's
those unfriend, unfollow.
Like once or twice is fine, but if that's your thing, I'm like,
It's like mahalo. All right. And the last question, you get to choose 5 people, living or have passed on, that you'd love to spend just one night with, like dinner. Sit down on the table and just have dinner and just have a talk. 5 people. Could be a celebrity, could be a family member, someone that's still living, or someone that have passed on. So you get to choose 5 people that maybe tomorrow night you sit around the dinner table and just talk.
It's your chance.
Yeah.
Oh,
I already know the first one.
You know the first one?
Lisa Carrington.
No, I've already had a day in her shoes. That's
sweet. Yeah. Lisa, you can go away now.
Yeah, 5. We've had some pretty good ones.
Okay. Well, first 2 is pretty easy. My dad and my sister passed on. Definitely bring them home for a family dinner.
Yes.
And then after that, who would I love to sit down with? Do you know who I find is really interesting is Kanye West? Like, I'd love to just sit down and just like listen to him talk, like
fashion.
Good talk fashion for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. He is a very interesting brain, so I'd definitely pick his brain. God,
2 more.
Okay. So bad at this.
You're all good. As long as you didn't hear something that rhymes with Bisa Paddington or something.
Oh man. People who hear this podcast.
Right, she hears it. Lisa Carrington, come on our podcast.
Oh, 2 more people.
Anybody?
This is actually really hard.
Or your favorite music artist?
Yeah, I'd sit definitely. I mean, maybe I'd sit at a table with Kanye West.
Easy.
With Lauryn Hill. I'm just thinking like that would be a great conversation. And probably
one more.
Who would be number 3 at that table?
Lauryn Hill.
That's a new one, name.
Yeah, we've never heard Lauren. This is Lauren.
Oh, true. Yeah. Maybe my brain's like completely
you're right
now. I don't know. Can I leave the space?
You know what? Atu's gonna add in 1 more person to your table. Who are you gonna add in for her table, bro?
I'm gonna add in Lisa Carrington. I have to.
I'm done with you guys. I'm done with you.
Nah, I'll add in
hey, you want to come to
one the popular one that we've had always on Sayless podcast would be Denzel Washington.
Denzel.
Hey.
Yeah.
Denzel.
Every time.
A lot of people want to have Denzel on.
I don't know why they just like when you talk to actors. I'd definitely sit down with Will Smith as well. He's good. He'd probably.
Yeah.
I haven't started listening to his new book yet, but I'm so excited.
Oh man, I watched one today. It was with his kids.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, get some tissues, sis, because
true.
Waterfalls.
You guys watch King Richards as well?
Yo, that's a good movie.
It's for the Serena Williams and Venus Williams, but he's acting as a dad, so he's awesome.
Yeah,
he's awesome on that.
Nice,
man. Shout out to I know he's gonna be watching this, Will Smith, but I can't wait to have you on that podcast, boy.
Yo, can't wait, Will Smith.
Can't wait. Ladies and gentlemen, Megan Signal, we are Sayless Podcast. As you also Sefa, Shotoko Atu sis. It's been a privilege and an honor to have you on. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your experience with us. And let's go. Camera for your